Talofa lava morena koutou.
How are you this morning?
I'm very good, thank you.
Great to have you on the show this morning, Honourable Minister. Let's start with, I think we did talk about this last time, warmer, drier homes for our Pacific Island people. How did the Pacific Healthy Homes Initiative help our Pacific Island people on this?
So what we've been able to do, this is an initiative that I started with the Ministry for Pacific Peoples last year, and we've come to the first year conclusion. And we've been able to help hundreds of Pacifica homes, particularly in South Auckland and Porirua, with drafts and other things that the Healthy Homes Initiative has basically indicated can help make a home warmer. And we know that when we make a home warmer, we make it healthier. When we make it healthier, it means children don't turn up in emergency departments. It means people are less likely to have time off work. The family does better with a warmer, healthier home. And so we've done, as a ministry, hundreds of interventions in the past year, and now what we've announced is we're going to continue the initiative while we're waiting for analysis from Otago University on this first year as to what impact we've had, and we'll continue the program through until we get that analysis and then look at how that informs what our next steps might be.
Excellent. That's excellent news. Good news, Honourable Minister. Let's talk about the budget cuts and community impact. What do you say to Pacific communities concerned about 36 million funding cut to the Ministry for Pacific People?
What I would say is that what we're looking to do here across all ministries is that we're looking for efficiencies, how we can do more, how we can do better. And this is where we've been able to focus the Ministry for Pacific Peoples. As I said, we've just expanded and increased the Pacifica Healthy Homes Initiative. So it shows what we can do when we are really efficient, when we really focus on what are the important parts that matter to Pacifica, then we can make these sort of cuts and keep moving.
Okay, Honourable Minister, how will the closure of the Taeao Business Fund and reductions to Tupu Aotearoa affect Pacific employment and entrepreneurship?
So this is a good example of how we can gather efficiency. So with Tupu, for example, what we've done is collaborated with MSD, who had a similar sort of program. So we're able to bring together two programs into one with increased efficiency and continue to look at how we can skill up those people who are best and most wanting to enter employment, which is what Tupu focuses on. So it now will become a collaboration with the MSD similar program. I would also mention that across government, there are other programs that significantly advantage Pacifica towards employment as well. For example, Alovaka is a good example of a Pacifica focus program that looks to upskill those who are in work, a combination of Tataki Auckland, Cause Collective, Upskill, and its focus is at how we can better position Pacifica people who are in employment, how we can lift the value of their work. So we have a number of initiatives, some of them inside the ministry that I lead, others in other ministries, as to how we can raise that employment rate for Pacifica people.
Honourable Minister, I want to ask you this. Why was funding for the National Whale Malaya withdrawn, and is there a plan to revive it in the future?
So that was withdrawn because funding had been put aside and not utilised. So it didn't seem like they were ready to progress. So when they progress, they can make the case again, but fundamentally they were not ready.
Okay. Any plan to revive it in the future?
When they've constructed a business case and are ready to represent what their needs are, then I'm sure that will be looked at again.
Okay, thank you. Minister, can you update us on the status of the Dawn Rates Reconciliation Program and what its wind down means for Pacific families?
Sure. So it's making good progress. The historical account has been substantively gathered, how that's presented in video and in written form. Is being worked on, and together with the Ministry for Arts, Culture and Heritage, the targets and the outcomes from the Dawn Raid initiative are continuing to progress.
Okay, how is the Auckland Pacific Wardens Trust funding being used, and will this initiative expand to other regions?
So this is a $1 million initiative, and part of that is to bring together all the voluntary bodies across Auckland under one administrative arm. There was lots of good work being done, but it didn't necessarily have a strategic focus. And so this is being well led out by the Trust in Auckland, and we have high expectations of the benefits that will have to have more Pacifica wardens out in the community.
Okay, Dr. Shane Reti, you are the Minister for Science, Innovation and Technology. Let me ask you about AI and biotechnology. What does the 24 million investment in AI and biotech mean for everyday New Zealanders?
So what we know is that artificial intelligence is probably the next evolution in digital communications. And New Zealand needs to be a part of that, which is why I announced the National AI Strategy several months ago as to how, as a government, we will look at that, fundamentally built on the 5 OECD principles. We need to be a part of this digital evolution. And so what we're doing with institutes like the Institute of Advanced Technology, for example, we're contemplating what emerging technologies New Zealand may need to focus on even more than we are at the moment. And we know that those technologies will be things like artificial intelligence, there'll be things like quantum technologies, things like synthetic biology.
Right.
And so what we're wanting to do in my role, I have an outward-looking role for how artificial intelligence, how the uptake can improve across New Zealanders, but across New Zealand business and in New Zealanders' personal lives. And then the Minister Collins has a purview across government as to how artificial intelligence uptake can be increased. And I know some recent reporting in this past week or so of almost a doubling of uptake from government departments in their use of artificial intelligence. So it's a really important next evolution in the digital world. And New Zealanders will need to be a part of that.
Okay, how will the new AI strategy improve productivity and economic competitiveness?
So what it does is it makes very clear what the New Zealand position is. That is that we will be light touch, a regulatory light touch environment, and that we're here to facilitate what will be an industry-led initiative. And I think that's really important because there's different ways to approach this. Right. Some in Europe are more heavy-handed from a regulatory perspective. Some across, for example, the UK are less regulatory. We are going to be light touch from a regulatory perspective and then facilitate business as to how they can uptake artificial intelligence to improve productivity and improve their service offering.
Okay, thank you, Honourable Minister. Let me ask you about the gene technology. Why is the government establishing a gene technology regulator, and how will it balance innovation with safety?
So we're 20 years behind the rest of the world in gene technology. Australia's had gene technology legislation since the 2000s, early 2000s. And we're now 20 years behind. Fundamentally, the rest of the world will eat our lunch. If we don't modernise and catch up, others will do faster and more efficiently what we're unable to do. We've had a number of companies who have needed to move offshore because our current legislation does not permission them to do what they need to do. And so they've simply gone to Australia, taken their business, taken their expertise, taken their money, and are doing the field trials in Australia. Why would we do that?
Right.
And that's just in the, for want of a better word, the environmental space. We have medical technologies, CAR T cells, which helps with a particular sort of cancer through the Malaghan Institute. They tell me that without up-to-date legislation, that they're being hindered in their ability to give New Zealanders modern medicines. So we need to update our legislation safely and responsibly so that we can compete in a modern world.
Okay, what are the goals of the new public research organizations focused on bioeconomy, earth sciences, and health forensics?
Sure. The goals of the public research organisations are to bring together into areas of expertise, such as the bioeconomy, which is one institute, earth sciences, which is another, and public health and forensic, which is a third, to bring together what were our 7 Crown Research Institutes into 3 public research organisations so that we can focus our efforts, so that we can reduce duplication. For example, the bioeconomy is probably the second biggest aggregation of primary industry researchers anywhere in the world. We now have critical mass, which we can take out to the world, as well as improving efficiencies. So it's a strong move in reforming the science sector so that we can improve our economic growth profile, so that we can improve our economic prospects and get a dividend from science where our brightest and best are working so hard.
How will this institution support the Māori and Pacific-led research initiatives?
So the Vision Mātauranga talks to particularly the contribution to science that Māori can bring. And they've been woven into the Crown Research Institute's agenda already. There is more opportunity through the public research organisations because it's easier to go from organisation to organisation. Let me give you an example. It's been explained to me that in places like Lincoln, where 20 metres across the road you might have ag research and land care, prior to them coming together into one institute, you may have needed to have a formal business agreement or a non-disclosure agreement before colleagues can walk 20 metres across the road and chat with other colleagues. How does that make sense? And so increased collaboration, increased efficiency is an advantage that Māori and Pacifica will have in the new science reforms as well.
Excellent. Honourable Minister Dr Shane Reti, whawhetai tele lava, thank you so much for your time this morning.
Ke pai tō haringa.
Manu lava le aso o le Whiunga Minister tangata to Motor Pacifica, Honourable Dr Shane Reti, mo le tata noanga nei Taeao tautua mo le so much for lima e batolo a mom.